Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the LJL officially unofficial. We have 3 days left of the regular spring split. I am Brackish Brit here with Oak and Middlecott to bring you day 19. Starting us off, we've got Detonation FocusMe versus AXIZ. After that, we're going to be dealing with CGA versus V3. I know someone will be relatively happy with that matchup, theoretically at least.
Well, hopefully, Brack.
Yeah, we've got Rascal Jester's Burning Core after that, and then finally Sengoku Gaming versus Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks Gaming. But we'll leave those for later. Let's get back towards game one. DFM versus AXIZ. Now, Oak, I'm gonna make a bit of an out there statement. All right, this is DFM favored, isn't it?
You know what, Brack? That's a very, we're on stream, right? People can hear what you say. I'm really surprised by you.
Hot
Yes, it
takes.
is slightly DFM favored. And I think DFM have had a rather good split thus far. Now, only losing games to Rascal Jester is definitely a benefit for you, I think, coming into playoffs, maybe shows your stamina for going into it. But yeah, I'm very excited to see how DFM can navigate this incredibly tricky matchup.
Middlecott, then. Can we talk about top lane? I want to talk about top lane. Because Toltu has been a bit of a liability at times in this split, but the last time he went against Evie, against DFM, he did almost solo kill. Is there an angle? Just put him on a carry?
Yeah, I think that the best way to characterize Toltu so far is probably a loose cannon. It definitely feels like he's a sort of player that can have carry threat. And I mean, like you mentioned, we did almost see him take down Ebby in a 1v1 on that Fiora versus Ebby's Darius. So I definitely think there's a potential there. The issue I've got, though, is that the wider aspects of Toltu's gameplay, I think, are a bit more exploitable. He loves to play aggressive, and DFM are exactly the sort of team to recognize that and punish it appropriately.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And this goes in tandem with some of the picks that I think AXIZ have in their arsenal. I think DFM are going to be very eager to either take away or ban out to really disrupt AXIZ's initial draft and maybe throw a couple of wrenches in the work to see how specifically Swamp and Dicey can navigate the field when a few of their champions are off the board.
Well, that's exactly what I was thinking. If Toltu, obviously, they want to try and play the Toltu angle and put Evie behind early, that will require Swamp to play more towards topside than we have seen normally. Generally, we see him prioritizing Sangchu quite a lot. And with good reason, Sangchu has been a very solid carry. But then again, we're a region of solid carries.
Yeah, I don't think we can really dispute that. And Sangchu coming in this year, one of the Korean imports, one of the rookies coming through from that region, didn't really know what to expect from him. And honestly, I've been very, very impressed. AXIZ has a history, a kind of brief one, but definitely a memorable one of having these Korean AD carries come in and them actually show up and perform fairly well. So I definitely like that they are putting some of the resources into him being one of these primary carries. I think his Zeri has to be permabanned because it is just that good. So yeah, I think it is a real sign for AXIZ that something could go well in this matchup. But again, you are playing against DFM.
And it's kind of funny to me. We talked about that he will, like, Sangchu will never get Zeri. He's played one game of her. And yes, he absolutely popped off. But yeah, the numbers speak for themselves. An overall 83% ban rate on Zeri after that one game for Sangchu. Whereas, despite Utapon playing 2 games of Zeri, only a 33% ban rate. So it really is maybe a little bit of results-oriented thinking coming out there.
And 12.5 doesn't really change that. We thought maybe we'd see a little bit more AD priority elsewhere, but Jinx and Zeri are still very much high on the pick and ban list, respectively. I am excited to see whether or not teams have started to pick up Kai'Sa and Samira, because we've already had some Samira gameplay come up from Sangchu. I want to see if this is doubled down on with an early Nautilus pick, which we know is such an impressive lane. And then on the other side of the coin, are DFM eager to go into to Kai'Sa themselves? So yes, that's where I'll be looking towards today, because we love a bit of versatility in our bot lanes.
That we do, Oak. And speaking of Samira, she did pop up a couple of times yesterday.
Yes.
Jumping to mind, Marvel absolutely popping off on the Samira for the SoftBank Hawks. We'll see, obviously, if that gets picked up again later in the day.
Yeah, and I think it is cool that we are starting to see a couple more of these newer AD carry picks. Yutapon, I think, is someone that we kind of want to highlight because we haven't seen the Samira and the Kai'Sa from them so far this split. The Jinx was actually something that they'd never really played in competitive before, but they were able to pull that out as well. So I think maybe a bit more diversity in the bot lane is what we're going to be seeing.
There is one game of Kai'Sa for Yutapon this split, but very little priority towards the Samira. There is a game of Varus, and considering a certain series that you and I watched yesterday, Oak, I was wondering how much the Varus priority is going to increase. Yes, that was NLC Div 3, but still, it does showcase the potential power of Varus after those 12.5B changes.
Oh, absolutely. I think, there is a lot of more. I think the big thing is that even if these ADs don't see sudden priority, there is more space for them, which really gives a hand in more interesting and unique drafts. When you're able to slot in an Ashe because Jinx doesn't get a free laning phase, for example, it feels a lot better. When you're able to get a Varus locked in because mid game is going to spike that little bit harder is very, very important. And I would like to see some of these picks come in, but the thing is, the meta is currently more contested with stuff that's really easily blindable, and then you work around that stuff like the Hecarim, which I think is actually going to be really important this match. Now, this has been, we kind of identified Steel as a Poppy player, but he's been playing a lot of Hecarim recently, and this is in tandem with Swamp, who also Hecarim is his most played alongside the Xin Zhao, I think. So no, Swamp just is most played as just the Hecarim.
Lots of Hecarim.
So that plus stuff like in mid lane, these easily blindable mages like Ryze and Ari, those two are probably going to come together to really form the ball of this draft. And
I think Hecarim has just kind of become everybody's most played. I actually I kind of want to do a check through all of the teams now and see if any of the junglers outside of Steel with 7 games on Poppy don't have Hecarim as their most played, at least in recent weeks.
I think we've probably still got a little bit of a Xin Zhao hangover from when he was like super high priority right at the start of the split. But yeah, I definitely agree with you that the jungle pool seems to have been reduced down to just that Hecarim as the top tier picks, and everything else is sort of a tier or two below, which can warp drafts in really interesting ways because you've only got one of those power picks that you're contesting in the jungle position.
It really does lead into you picking something else that kind of handles the Hecarim, and then in turn your whole draft pivots. We've seen this very often with Jarvan, who has some early pressure, so you tend to see comps move more towards that front to back. You might see an Orianna slotted in to bring the wombo together. Stuff like this where, we'll be looking at who gets blue side really, because with Jinx not so high priority as a blue side first pick, puts a lot of pressure on red side to ban either one or both of these AD carries that we already highlighted the Jinx and Zeri away.
And I'm going to harken back again, Oaks. Oaks heard this before, but this is something that I note, and I think is fairly common knowledge across the scene now, that the statement of pros are slow to adapt. And whenever new changes come out, it's always usually like a patch or two before the effects are really seen of them. And part of that is familiarity. For example, the entirety of the split so far, Jinx has been crazy OP. And she's by no means bad after the 12.5B changes either. So why would you stop playing her, even if there are theoretically, or like if you were to do the noodly maths about it, there might be a champion that is better, but you have not played on as much, you have not scrimmed on as much, that you would not be as confident to pull out in a competitive environment.
I agree with you, and I think that possibly the one counter to that is AXIZ have shown that they're willing to pull out stuff which is a little bit more wild.
And we are into draft for game 1, gentlemen. I'm going to vanish for the time being. Take it away.
Whew. Let's get into this, Oak. Pick and ban. First game of the day, DFM versus AXIZ. AD Carry seems to be the focus of the bans coming out from the blue side team. AXIZ a bit more focused on Harp support pool, actually.
Yeah, to be honest, this triple AD ban I'm a little bit surprised to see, but I think we already mentioned how scary the Samira and the Zeri would both be. The Akshan ban on top of that, so bans aimed at Sangchu and Toltu specifically to really restrict their pool. And then, as you mentioned in return, a couple of support bans up the way. But the first pick, Tryndamere, Ebi's one of their most banned away champions in this Tryndamere. He gets to lock that in. Remember, this is a flex pick to mid lane as well, so they're going to love that.
Yeah, they will, but it does free up that Hecarim to be taken by AXIZ and this Kai'Sa, who has been rising in priority as both an AD carry and a mid laner. Not really something I'd associate with Mega Man. I think Sanctuary is much more likely to be piloting that one, though. DFM could respond with their AD carry and jungler here or lock in their support.
Yeah, and we've seen Kent really slot itself in as a really strong single target peeler. You get that one ultimate, you get the fat shield on top of that, and that's it, you're done. So they're really happy, and I was about to say to probably lock this in alongside with that Jinx, get some priority as well as giving Jinx the safety to deal with the onslaught of shadows from Hecarim. AXIZ though coming in with a very clean counter. I think when you get into the Kench Jinx lane, especially with the nerfs that came to Jinx, she has a little bit less pressure in those first 4 waves, and it means she can't do free reset stuff, which means you can get away with something like the Yuumi if you so choose, but instead they go for Nautilus, which is Dicey's most played champion this split so far. He's very, very comfortable on it, and this does enable him to get cross map, which I think can really support Toltu.
Yeah, getting moving around the map, enabling some of these other carries. But I feel like generally AXIZ have got quite a strong identity with their composition here. I'll dive in. I think that the Poppy ban actually makes a lot of sense when you factor that in.
Absolutely. They don't want that steadfast presence to stop any of their dashing in, and it is a bit clinky with the Kai'Sa ultimate, but still you got to be very cautious. Now, if you're about in return, because I think Ebi may be having some flashbacks to the last time, even though it was actually very snowbally, that Fiora got really close at some points in that game.
Yeah, nearly took him down, and we said that Toltu is a potential win condition for AXIZ. Playing these carries on the side lane, you only need to get a couple of kills, and then you can apply so much pressure, start taking towers, start getting some gold in your back pocket. Diana, so throwing another ban towards Steel are AXIZ, really trying to focus down that jungle pool as much as possible.
Kind of liking the cohesion from AXIZ. They pick this really strong bot lane, they get to pair that up with this jungler, and now this is the first real sign of red side. You know, we're going to see what this blind pick is going to be. This gives the opportunity for DFM to counter pick as well as maybe get some cohesion in the comp right now, because right now we're seeing a lot of damage, not a lot of engage, and only a little bit of protection. So I want to see how DFM can round this comp out.
Yeah, still would need to pick up their mid laner and their jungler. We did see a game of Sejuani top from Toltu yesterday, and it could have been better. Does leave counter pit for Megamin, but this feels like a bold one, Oak.
I have a lot of respect for Sejuani top. I think it's actually one of the better tanks in top lane.
Okay.
There's been a lot of conversation around Sejuani potentially being slotted in as a solo laner. I am excited to see how Toltu navigates this matchup, because I imagine it sounding absolutely horrendous against Tryndamere, but
yeah,
we have in game to check for that. For now, we get to see that this gives even more cohesion to the comp, because you want more engaged. Sejuani definitely offers that. She also offers a incredibly beefy front line for this Kai'Sa to find damage points. So very happy to see it locked in. In return, DFM locking in a very, very stable jungler in the Zinzao, giving a little bit of early skirmishing, especially around first 2 Drakes. Lots of pressure once it gets on that Gore Drinker. When you combine that with an RE, suddenly a little bit of goals form, because we see a lot of pick come out from DFM, lots of skirmish power, and this can really help to set up a successful fight point for you if you can get Ebi successfully inside lane, splitting constantly, and fish for these skirmishes.
I mean, the thing is as well, DFM have got a lot of tools for making the fights go a little bit longer, constantly resetting the fights. Devour, you've got the Crescent Guard as well that buys so much space too. And this is a little bit of a Megamin special. This is a pick that I kind of like to see him on, because it's one of his few mid lane picks that I think could really exert a lot of pressure. It's going to be hard to do that against Yaharong on this Syndra, because he is such a good player. but I think AXIZ have actually drafted themselves something here that gives them a little bit more than they may necessarily expect to have.
I really wish Vega had been locked in here, but you're right. This is a Syndra we would love to see in this slot, and it does give up a lot of early game access, especially into Ari, who can kind of, after level 7, really get away with laning phase, cue the backline creeps, instant clear, and start to look for repeated roam points. Syndra could do a fantastic job of locking that down, because if you use spells in the way, Syndra hits you with that Scatter of the Week, you are dead. Done. No counterplay to that, and that can pair up oh so well with creating another goal for Swamp, because Swamp has lacked a little bit of proactivity sometimes, as does the region as a whole. Sometimes they like to just play it safe through mid game, but when you lock in Syndra, it can really give a identification for, okay, level 6 to level 9, this is the lane to be looking towards. We really want to get pressure on this lane so that when we hit mid game properly, this is a champion who's ahead, who has kill threat on the enemy team, and in turn that pays off dividends.
And I mean, that's going to come through Dicey as well, right? We talked about wanting to see them on one of these roaming engaged supports, and the Nautilus can do exactly that. So hopefully we can see that sort of mid support, possibly pairing up with Swamp as well in the jungle, get that synergy, get those map movements down. Because I feel like that's really where you need to attack DFM. It's in that early game. It's when your composition has that strength, and not give time for the Tryndamere, for the Jinx to scale and really get online.
Finally, just thinking about this top side real quick, because we did see the Sejuani. Was it yesterday?
It was yesterday. It was yesterday,
okay.
Oak.
Brilliant, fantastic. I was thinking, did Toltu play a Samira top game? Am I going crazy?
I think you are going crazy. Just okay. A Draven top game. Come on, nice and standard. But we are now on to the Rift. DFM on the blue side here. AXIZ on the red. If AXIZ want to keep their playoff hopes alive, we mustn't forget that they need to win here today. But that first step on the road is a pretty darn difficult one to step over. Looking at the rune stat, interesting to see Megaman actually opting towards the Airy on this Syndra.
You do Airy in tandem with Cookies and Time Warp Tonic to basically repeatedly poke in the lane. It's the way Syndra's play nowadays. Electrocute is gone. It's Airy Kingdom now. Now I like this little mini meta that's formed in the bot side. People have started warding this center brush to make sure that they can't get cheese level 1. Well, actually, Sangchu and Dicey know this is happening. They use that retro kit to get solo XP on Sangchu, and
Ebby trying to gank Swamp in his jungle, but he didn't expect Toltu to be here. Will just spinning slash away, but this does mean that the Hecarim can secure his own red buff, and Ebby is going to be delayed getting to top side.
Just a little bit. In the meantime, Steel is happy to take the camp solo, since I was definitely having a fairly healthy clear. I won't worry about too much, but Evie actually misses the first 3 minions of XP. This is very, very big if Toltu can set up for some continual trades, because Tryndamere does suffer in the early game, especially if you can dissuade him from building his rage up and stop him from healing back up.
I think if Toltu is able to secure that early level 2, maybe he can have some kill threat. Is running the Ignite as well, and probably understands this matchup a little bit better than Ebby. Ebby's a guy that has been around, but I can't imagine he's played too much Tryndamere versus Sejuani.
Yeah, maybe not. And Sejuani has some unique trading tools. Sejuani has some unique trading tools which really benefit her in a solo lane. You get access to repeated usages of that stun, as well as the W, which you're seeing there, which is that 2 flay and then the poke tool. And these can actually be really impactful tools if you're able to get the complete stun off to get some little bit of max HP damage and burst out as a big chunk comes in.
And but responded to in kind by Megaman. Mid lane going fairly evenly so far. Slight shove advantage secured by Megaman, as Toltu is once again being aggressive in the top side, really flexing his knowledge of this matchup, as we see on the minimap. Both junglers pathing towards the bottom side of the map, recognizing that that's where a lot of these engage tools are. That's where a lot of the damage is, as Toltu going under the tower, but he gets minion blocked. Oh, Ebby goes, flashes forward, but the level up will keep Toltu alive for a second longer. It's not going to matter. That is so unlucky, dude.
And look at the wave as well. Not only does Ebby find the solo kill through turret, the minions absolutely PayPal'd by the enemy team. Ebby gets to keep this freeze as well. He did ban both summoners, and it means that Sejuani is going to have TP in response. But look here, so he's really fishing to get the 4-point stack on his E passive and then walk up and get the auto. It gives you bonus damage, but Tol2 takes the first turret shot, tries to path back, and the minions he ends up guided around them, takes a second one. And it really suddenly, this lane is on its head a little bit.
It was his own minion wave, Oak. It wasn't even like it was the enemy minions doing their duty. There was some like double agent shenanigans occurring there, and Ebby is going to be the beneficiary of it. And that really sucks because whilst Sejuani, definitely not a carry for Tol2, was doing very, very well in that lane. Clearly something that the guy was happy playing into this trend a bit, but now, like you said, in a little bit of that deficit, Swamp is going to try and even this matchup up a little bit, but has been spotted out, and Ebby will stay just out of danger.
It looks like AXIZ and Tol2 are just going to go for an easy shove here because Ebby is essentially locked into this lane right now. No TP available, which means so long as they can keep these waves shoving, it gives free access for Swamp to move up to top side.
But he needs to be careful of Steel. The Xin Zhao has a lot of early power, and if you're engaging under the tower, it's going to be bad for you. Megamin flashing forward, but not before Ebby will pick up the first kill. Traded back, and now Swamp will charge down the Xin Zhao under the tower, takes a tower shot for his troubles, but stays alive. And Megamin also gets out, slithers of HP, but AXIZ make the play happen.
Fantastic proactivity from AXIZ, and Yaharong wasn't really on the response side. So an ultimate 3v2, 2 kills go onto the Syndra, which we love to see when you're locking in this champion. And it was off the back of Tol2 getting some really aggressive trading and constantly keeping these wave shots and really punishing Trinity mid before he gets his level 6. Now look at this. Megamin is on the ball to know that through this dive, potentially Steel could be in top side. They know he started there. So in return, they get to shove Megamin top here. And even though Tol2 dies, fantastic scatter of the week comes in, and they toggled the tower aggro so well here. Swamp takes one turret here. Megamin is playing on knife's edge here, and right at the end here, time up tonic and a cookie to come in and gets that corruption pot as well to really get that healing come in just at last second.
And you touched on it there, the cookies and the time walk tonic, a combination, a rune set up in the mid lane that has been much maligned, but definitely saved Megamin's life there, and that could be pivotal in a matchup versus DFM where every single advantage that you give up is something that they will exploit. So good stuff to see from AXIZ as we are 6.5 minutes into this game, even on the kills, even on the gold. It's looking pretty good so far.
Absolutely. I mean, we are seeing 2 kills in return. The gold leader's fairly even, but just that little thing could be such a good point for this team to snowball because remember, since 2 kills, spell pen boots already picked up, and Yaharong's overextended.
We could have some action brewing as Ebby has roamed down from the top lane. Charm has already been used as 2 charges of the Spirit Rush have also been laid down. Megamin is going to be the focus here, just waiting on that CC. Ebby is ghosting, going under the tower. There it goes. The wind become lightning, will deal some damage in the auto attacks to finish it off.
DFM, they understood what was going on. They have an immediate plans to handle this mid lane threat that suddenly approached. And Ebby, with a rotation with the rest of the team, picks up Megamin and hopefully leads him towards his first Drake as well. Fantastic response there, and really kind of off the back of a very minor misplay from AXIZ. They stepped into enemy vision in this bot river, and DFM were very quick to go, oh, no, you can't be doing that. Sorry, we have our ultimates. We have all this chase down available, Ghost on the Trinity, and it all comes out all at once. And looks like now we're going to get a little bit of a replay of Ebby and how he passed. So he gets his wave shove, and we see here, look at where Swamp is, and we see Steel and, Swamp and Megamin path down. Yaharong's like, no, you can't do that, sorry. Got Ebby on my side, and they run it down here. Now, big thing here is when you watch Megamin here, the scatter of the week comes out. He can only hit one target, and he messes up the combination. You normally can get that max range scatter of the week into the dark sphere to get a really extended CC combination. He doesn't get it, and in return gets picked off for it.
Yeah, if that's a stun, you live there. But it wasn't, and you ended up dying. And we already said, DFM, every mistake you make, every advantage that you give over is something that they will exploit. And Ebby stealing away that red buff is going to mean that there's a hell of a lot more damage that he can put down onto Tol2's head. The sustain that you're going to get as well will make the trades even better for you. So I'm just chilling in this Pixel Brush here, but he needs to be careful as Harp, Steel, and the gang are on their way over. 8.5 minutes, and this Drake hasn't really been focused as of yet.
Absolutely. I'm surprised to see Syndra suddenly not really doing much. I was hoping that as soon as this level 6 was unlocked, Dicey and Swamp would be moving into the mid lane, and so far we've seen actually DFM handle it really well with vision. They've had repeated vision around the spot side, which has really limited Dicey's rotations, and because of this wave shove coming from Jinx repeatedly, remember Rockets after level 4, it doesn't really make the difference, and that in turn has led to Utapon just shoving in every wave. Dicey really hasn't had the chance to leave, and look at that, a single charm, half HP. Is really important that you play aggressively into this lane, otherwise that's kind of happen, because even with Merc Treads, Ari still hits very, very hard.
You only need to hit one of those charms and it makes sort of the repeated trade easier, and you see Megamin has had to chug through a couple of those corrupting potion stacks to get up to a reasonable amount of HP, but still doesn't have too much mana. AXIZ, this would be a very bold contest as Yaharong will flash forward, gets the charm, gets the damage, gets the kill. Swamp will now be forced to run away, will smite down the Herald, but can't pick it up because he didn't even get it. Double kill for the Ahri in the mid lane as Toltu is fighting up with Ebby in the top side. And it's a kill for the Trendemir. DFM really turning the screws now.
Absolutely. Suddenly a 2k lead has emerged from this, and remember, you just mentioned it, but Herald was not in fact picked up by AXIZ. That's going over to Steel's side, and he's immediately going to look towards the rest of his lanes as well as the enemy jungle. Go, okay, what can I take away, and what potential first turret can I be looking towards? Because almost 2 plates picked up on top side, a plate already unlocked in bot as the killer instinct comes out, and half is destroyed. Okay, well, rest in peace, Harp.
I didn't think we were at that point in the game where Ikathia Rain was just one-shotting people, but apparently it's the case. Utapon now being chased down by Sangchu. Doesn't have the killer instinct, so can't follow with too much damage, but still has the flash if he wants to go for something a little bit dangerous. AXIZ down, but definitely not out.
Yeah, Sangchu's specific itemization here, so we're going to get a replay on the top side, so we'll talk about this first. This flash charm was pivotal for the success for DFM to find this fight. Shuts down this Syndra. Remember, the 2 major kills that came across in the early game, they're on that Syndra. You kill her first, and you lose that 600 gold bonus of combat stats. And at the same time, Ebby he doesn't want this champion to do well. He's very unhappy with the situation, as Yusupon's going to get the Super Mega Death Rocket just to disrupt this reset from Sangchu. I don't know how.
Okay, that was blind. That was blind. It's just
completely blind.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, when I see the observers highlighting a Super Mega Death Rocket, I'm like, all right, we're either stealing an objective or we're killing someone. Interrupting a recall is cool, is nice, is BM, but it's not what you need to be doing. As told to interrupts Ebby's recall. Again, very, very rude to do. We don't need to highlight this, Ebby. I feel like you're just going to get your recall interrupted again if you stand there, buddy. But Toltu chooses not to do it. And I love what DFM have been doing. You said Megamin did get those kills in the early game. They go, okay, this is the threat. This is where we're going to index a lot of our pressure. And he hasn't really been able to impact the map aside from that. Sangchu now getting poked under tower. Swamp on vision as Steel is catching up Megamin in the mid lane. Yaharong ulting forward, gets the damage down, and it's just too easy.
She's dead before the charm comes out. I don't know what to say, Middlecott.
I have to say something. Might be saying a eulogy for Yaharong here, as Toltu will be able to secure the stun, but not before the charm comes out onto Swamp, who will use that onslaught of shadows, but is just going to die before it even connects. Utapon gets eaten up as Sangchu is fighting in the bot side. We're looking top for a moment. And as soon as we flash back to mid, flash back to bot, kills being traded all over the place, and now we're engaged in supportal combat. Dicey hooks himself out of there across the map. Lots of kills going down, but DFM favored.
Okay, many things have happened right now. The big thing is that Ebby has decided not to rotate. Instead, he's leaving his team to find the 5v4 as Dicey's found the bot side. This looks like it's going to be a pick off. I don't know if Dicey has the flash available. I feel so bad for him. My heart burns for you, Dicey. I'm sorry, brother. Yeah, we're gonna get the replay coming on this bot side play, so it's nice to see how this was found in complete cohesion. I think we see Utapon playing the wave slow because he doesn't want to over aggress. At the same time, Harp tries to find the flank, and Jinx ends up left alone with Sangchu. Remember, Sangchu's itemization is very kill orientated right now, and even with that depth charge being picked up by Harp using that ultimate, disrupted. Damage is still so
Sangchu.
behind.
Oh no, Sangchu. Oh dear, this is bad. Actually gets the kill onto Utapon. No killer instinct available, so I think we'll be going down in the end. But this bot lane has been a bright spot for AXIZ as Ebby with a little bit of helicopter action there. Not too sure about that.
Oh dear, yes. He does get alpha free, and at the same time as seeing how this Kai'Sa suddenly emerged as one of the more prominent bot lane and mid lane threats as well. Versatility is the name of the game, and Sangchu's definitely opting towards early pressure. He skipped the tier entirely. He's also picked up a serrated Dirk as well to get the earliest Q evolvers. I mean, Yaharong's moving to topside too, so Toltu might think he's safe, but Ebby and Yaharong have so much rundown. The Ghost is available from Ebby as well.
Yeah, that Glacial Prism will buy, but a moment for Toltu. Over aggressive in the top side once again. 0-5 on the Sejuani top, not working out for the second game in a row.
Another Spirit Rush and another Charm comes out. And
Yaharong, you can't just do that. Throws for the damage. Harp lands the knock up from Fog of War. And secures himself another kill. AXIZ, they don't really have anywhere that's safe to play anymore. As Steel is flashing forward under tower to try and take down Dicey. Won't end up getting it in the end, but there's just nowhere on the map that AXIZ can stand.
And I think Harp and Steel immediately look towards his bot lane. They set up a freeze, so Sangchu is very, very stuck under this bot turret. They had the wave shove. Remember, Dicey's on reset. They get the dive coming in.
Killer Instinct's away and actually buys himself a second of time, but the spit back out directly into his face. Still gets the kill. Harp gets another one. Well played, but ultimately doesn't mean too much for AXIZ. Mid lane tower is going to fall, as the bot lane tower will fall as well. And DFM, I feel like they're just playing with their food. It seems that they can make plays with impunity.
Yeah, I think it was really through this draft, right? There was no real answer made to the Tryndamere. Whilst they seemed to find a little bit of solo lane pressure through the Syndra, through the Kai'Sa as well, through the spot side, Swamp could never really play through it with completion. In return, this Tryndamere going unanswered in draft means DFM get to play exactly what they want. Heavy skirmishes with split push pressure in the top side, and fantastic itemization from the Tryndamere, specifically opting in towards a Hullbreaker instead of the first mythic, instead of looking towards a Gale Force or a Kraken Slayer. Is best against these tanks. Just gives you a ball of stats which you can throw at the enemy player, which is really important because early itemization like steel plated toe caps or the bramble vest, if it were to come out, really limit those aggressive trading options. But picking up this Hellbreaker instead means Ebby kind of gets to play the game for free. He's looking for a 1v2.
Definitely the sort of player that could make it happen. I mean, you say talking about not having a mythic, does now have that Gale Force, which gives you a fair bit of target access. Megamin just throwing him back with a Scatter of the Week there, but you can already see how scary this Tryndamere can be. Ghost popped as well. Ebby was actually really looking for that one.
He really wanted that kill because it would have been very, very quick to set up for this remaining tier 2 in the bot side, as well as maybe give the team pressure to play for a potential win. Remember, this bot lane tier 2 is the only tier 2 remaining on the map now. DFM have picked up a lot of standing gold.
Yeah, Harong making a little bit of an aggressive play in the enemy jungle. Unleash Power will take him out. That's a kill at the very least.
1,000 gold bounty as well, as they're looking for the return kill in boss side.
But Toltu's used that Glacial Prism to lock down Ebby and buy himself crucial seconds, but can he outlast the Undying Rage? No, he cannot. Is the answer, as Steel is waiting around in the jungle for Sangchu, but this is a 1v3, buddy. Are you sure that you win that? I mean, perhaps you do. The more of the man Mortius procced, and it's not quite enough, but the splash from the Super Mega Death Rocket will take out the Kai'Sa, and now AXIZ are trapped in their own jungle. They're in a fist fight. They're in an engagement that they just can't win. Swamp flashed on, taken out. Megamin 2. This is disastrous for AXIZ, and DFM claim the spoils.
God, the way DFM navigated that secondary fight there was oh so good. You pump half all the way around this top side with that turret being taken. It means he gets to regroup with his team. Ebby buying so much time in return means they get 4 kills on the board, and immediately bot lane tier 2 unlocks. Now they get the inhibitor turret as well, and they are snowballing through this game oh so quickly. 2 items across the board for DFM for the most part, but mythics, I mean, Nautilus still isn't on his mythic yet.
Yeah, it's this is kind of what a 12k Goldie looks like 18 minutes into the game. Totu opting into this 1v1, but you don't win that, buddy. I know you're a tank, but you were also 0-6 when you took that, so maybe not as tanky as you would like.
I don't know what you mean. I feel like steel-plated toe caps have so much utility against an Ari.
I think that's a true Sinner build. Like, you could talk about Everfrost maybe not being optimal in certain scenarios, but if the plated steel caps are getting proper good value, you have to throw some missing pings on your Ari's itemization at that point.
Anyway, I liked what AXIZ drafted into. I was really eager to see them find success here. You know what I would have loved instead of the Syndra? The Veigar. It was hovered for a second, and whilst it does struggle into this Jinx, imagine the amount of mid-game pressure they would have had with Baby Cage into all the dive coming in from DFM. I think some adaptability from these mid laners would be oh so good, because this Syndra is such a pressure point around that level 6, level 9 point, but they never really decided to hit the trigger. They didn't really aggress into this mid lane, and Yaharong by and large was the aggressor into the Syndra instead, and I think they really ended up bleeding for it, and it's showing here now as look at the damage coming onto Toll2.
Yeah, that's your tank, by the way, not looking particularly tanky as Swamp, diving into the backside but not able to find too much. The Everfrost onto 3! Yaharong, that was beautiful, and that triple is yours to claim. Misses the flash shot, but he's not going to care too much about that one as 3 members in the death chamber. I think that DFM are just going to go for the win.
Some say Ludens is the best mythic on the Ari. I love a good Everfrost. Somebody should clip that and send that to Nymera, because what a highlight game for Yaharong. Really, really impressive play. Constant proactiveness coming up from him and the rest of his team to secure a very, very early win. As we get the Dancing Herald as well. Fantastic from DFM to find and continue their presence. 3-0 against AXIZ in the regular split. Very, very well played.
It's not often that you could say that you've had 2 Dancing Herald games in a row, but that is an accolade that DFM can claim for themselves, as it was another rapid victory here today. And you can discuss the draft as much as you like, Oak, but I feel like there was just a difference in quality of the teams on the Rift today.
Yeah, I mean, AXIZ they found this early play, and we thought, oh, this is great. They can start to snowball forward this, and DFM are immediately like, no, you cannot play the game. Get out of here, out of my sight.
Yeah, it really felt like AXIZ kind of had 8 minutes where they were allowed to play the game, and DFM went, okay, that's enough. You've had enough time. It's time to take out the trash here. But we're going to be breaking down that game in a little bit more detail after a short break. Join us in a couple of minutes from the analyst desk. Don't go anywhere. Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much for that, Brack. Hopefully the audience can hear you in just a second's time, but it was a strong early game coming through from AXIZ, but then, yeah, they really weren't quite able to transition it in the way they would have liked, Brack.
I'm not saying that all again. Screw you guys.
But no, yeah. Good signs from AXIZ in the early game. I think definitely for the first 10 minutes, they kind of did exactly what they would have wanted to, right? They did have they did fall down to that first blood, but they came back. They had some proactive moves of their own, and that bot lane, Sanctuary and Dicey were a consistent 2v2 threat. Even later on into that game, once DFM had really started to snowball, the Kaiser was getting kills and making plays happen. So it feels like, once again, it's another case of close but not quite close enough for AXIZ, because after that 10-minute mark, DFM kind of just did DFM things.
Pretty much. And Hoke, I want to keep it on the positivity train as much as possible, because AXIZ, so many nice things to talk about. The roams from Swamp and Megaman in the early game to try and bail out Toltu after that unfortunate minion blocking incident for First Blood. It was really nice to see.
Yeah, absolutely. The proactiveness from Swamp Megaman to move up towards this top side and see that, you know, especially pre-6 Tryndamere, it's not really a threat. It's very, very diveable, and they're very quick on the button to take that properly. And I think it came off the back of the rest of DFM, or specifically Yaharong, not respecting that and not rotating up. And so they find the 3v2 and get 2 kills on Syndra. And this was really close to opening up the game for AXIZ and potentially us seeing a win against the current leaders of the scoreboard. But unfortunately, it came off specifically DFM going and identifying that first, which is a bit of a shame nonetheless. But yes, AXIZ were very, very close to finding it that game.
And the almost felt like there was a degree of personal vendetta. The fervor with which they went after Megaman after he picked up those first 2 kills. But yeah, as you say, fantastic target designation.
It was very much like that early game was DFM, like, just sitting back, right? Who's going to step up? Who's going to try and fight us? Which one of you thinks that you're tough enough? Oh, Megaman? Oh, you've made a mistake, my friend. Bad things are going to happen to you. And he got focused down so much. Can't recall his score quite off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure he went from 2-0 to 2-3 to 2-4, something like that, very, very quickly. So yeah, DFM just being clinical.
Yeah, it was very scary to see how quickly DFM, and really repeatedly, especially Yaharong, was on the ball to start these fights first to really limit how much effect Megaman could have on the fights. And yeah, after those first 2 kills, I think Megaman picked up 1 more, but ultimately it ended the game 3-6, which is a bit rough. Whereas Yaharong, into the 2 kills Syndra, remember, 10-1 and 3. Very, very good scorelines coming up from DFM across the board. And yes, and this proactiveness to make the picks first was really, really important, because DFM drafted themselves into a very skirmish-heavy comp with the Tryndamere just constantly pushing in the side lane. It locks Toltu out of ever playing with the team. And then in tandem with that, if you are making the picks first with fewer numbers, very more likely that the fight's going to go your way, especially if you pick off the Syndra, who's your largest mid-game kill presence.
And I think one of the other cool things is it felt like this Tryndamere was playing with TP a lot of the time, because Ebby was joining these fights. He was getting these wave shoves and then coming down to join the rest of the team. And that's one of the things that I think hasn't really been tracked too much over the course of the season, but has been one of the more interesting aspects of Pro League, is how top laners have adapted to the TP changes and how the really good ones are playing like it doesn't even matter.
And as a final thought, because as my brain is wont to do, make silly references that I just have to share. I feel like that game was the the JoJo moment where DFM is just there like it's Dio. Oh, you're approaching me.
Yeah.
Megaman, like, I have to get closer to kick your ass. It's like, oh, then come as close as you like.
And that's what Sanctuary really was the highlight for that point of the game, was for a second there, it's like, oh, Sanctuary's kind of taking over the game. And this really is how he's looked by and large for most of the split. And I think I love that they're able to adapt a little bit quicker, pick up the Kai'Sa, which every other pro scene has been looking towards now. And it really showed there specifically because so much, what's the word? Versatility in the build that you can do. Sangchu went, we're going to be really lane focused, avoided the tier, the shield, not the shield bow, but the component of the shield bow plus the serrated dirk and a sword, so you get immediate Q max. And when people were exploding in bot side, and I really wish AXIZ were able to use that to catalyze some kind of lead elsewhere on the map, but unfortunately it was for naught.
That kill onto onto Harp, where he just kind of gets one shot on target. We were sat there going like, there's no way that he just dies here, but his health bar just got evaporated. And it's kind of what Sanchu's been doing this split. He has been that consistent bright spot for AXIZ, but ultimately not bright enough today.
Unfortunately not. We're going to throw it to a quick break now, because game 2 coming right up. Crest Gaming Act versus V3 Esports. Do not go anywhere. We've got 3 games still to go. And the season is far